what's up, Engage? My name's Daniel, and it's such an honor to be with y'all tonight. Hey, we live in some crazy times, don't we? I mean, this is really weird. We're all trying to figure out what our new normal is. If you're like my state, I live in Alabama. We're just now getting out of quarantine, and it's like we're trying to figure everything out right now. I mean, what a horrible time to be trying to date someone, right? It's like you want to be close, but you can only be 6 feet away. Maybe you were talking to the girl like, hey, I'm only 6 feet away. Bust a little Akon. You can ask your youth pastor about that. We'll see if he's got a past or not. You know what I'm saying? It feels like life has been wrecked. And when things get wrecked, everything changes. Everything is different. Society is different. Walk around and you'll see people wearing masks, people acting differently. People are a little more apprehensive when you approach them. You can't shop the same. You can't order food the same. You can't be in restaurants the same. Everything is different, and the future is filled with uncertainty. We're all trying to figure this stuff out, and we're just making it up as we go. It's like getting your legs broke, and then you're learning how to walk all over again. You see, being wrecked, it changes you. And when you go through things in life that wreck you, it will completely change the trajectory of what you do, how you live, how you behave, how you act. I remember graduating from Bible college, and I went to visit my family, and I was flying back in to Kansas City, Missouri, and I had one of my best friends come pick me up at the airport. Now, my flight landed at midnight, so this is a good friend. It was gonna take us 3 hours to get back to where we live. And so as we were driving back in the middle of the night, we're on the stretch of road that honestly was kind of dangerous. It was just 2 lanes, one lane going down and one lane coming up. And it was kind of like hills on both sides. There were no emergency lanes anywhere, just to give you a little perspective of what's going on. It was about 2 a.m, and as we're driving, we're talking about life and where we're gonna go next. And I was about to move to Alabama, and there was just so many changes that were going on. And as my buddy and I were talking, we noticed in the distance a pair of headlights that were coming our direction. But this was a little bit different because the headlights that were coming our direction seemed to like pull into our lane heading towards us. Now, as we're driving, we're just having a conversation like, did that guy just pull into our lane? And we're like, I don't know, did he pull my lane? And so my friend starts flashing his lights, honking his horn, trying to get the guy's attention like, hey bro, get out of our lane, right? Well, as we're getting closer, I'm like, are you sure that this guy knows that he's in our lane? You should flash your lights. You should honk your horn. He's like, dude, I'm doing that. I've done it. I'm like, yeah, we'll do it again, right? Maybe he didn't hear you. Maybe he's not seeing it. So flash your lights and honk your horn. And he's doing that. And we're talking the whole time as these headlights are getting closer and closer towards us in our lane. So my friend says, I'm like, well, maybe if you just kind of pull over a little bit. And we start to pull over. But again, we can't go all the way off or we're going to get off the road. And so he pulls over a little bit, but the headlights follow our car. And he pulls back in the center and the headlights follow us again. And as we're getting closer and closer to this car, I'm telling my friend, I'm like, hey bro, you're gonna have to get in that dude's lane. He's like, I can't get in that guy's lane. I'm like, you're gonna get in that dude's lane. He's like, I can't get in that dude's lane. I'm like, you will get in that dude's lane, right? We're talking about it. He's flashing his lights, he's honking his horn, and as our cars are getting closer, it's apparent this dude's gonna hit us. I'm like, get in that dude's lane, man, right? And the last second, my friend turns his car, we try to get into the other lane, and we think we're gonna miss this guy, and just as we're fixing to pass, this car turns and hits us straight on. I can't tell you what the sound was like. I can't explain the metal crunching and just the sound and the impact and the pain that I felt in that moment. But I remember just going through this impact, my friend and I, we weren't knocked unconscious. And like the first thing we just started doing, we just started praying like, God, be with this guy, be with us. Like, what's going on? We're confused. And I look over and the car, if our car was kind of like set up this way, this car was set up at an angle. So it's literally just feet away from where I'm at. It hit my side of the car. I look over and that guy's car is on fire. Now, I don't know if you know, but if you've ever watched a movie, when cars are on fire, what do? They blow up. And I'm sitting next to this car and it's on fire. And I'm like, we got to get out. The dude's car's on fire. My friend's trying to get out and I'm trying to get out, except I have a problem. My leg is stuck. Where the car had been hit, it completely covered my leg, and my right leg was stuck and I couldn't get it out. And I'm starting to freak out because this car is on fire. I can't get out. My friend is hurt. I'm hurt. And so this is just what happens in the moment of just being frantic. My buddy was able to get out through the back seat. I had no idea what was going on, but I was able to pull my leg out of the car. I was able to lift myself up out through the window because the window had shattered. And as soon as my feet hit the ground, I fell straight on my face because I was numb from my legs down. I couldn't move my legs at all. My friend comes around and he's screaming for me, Daniel, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm here on the ground. And my friend drags me off and pulls me to safety. And I remember just laying on the ground and I could wiggle a toe, and I was like, oh, thank God for wiggled toes, right? Like I knew at that point that I wasn't paralyzed, but I still couldn't move my legs. Now, long story short, the guy that hit our car was killed on impact. When the ambulance and the police officers were there in the moment and they're strapping us in, and they're taking us to the hospital, the officers told me and my friend, you guys shouldn't be here. You should be dead. The ambulance, as they're dealing with the other guy who had been dead on impact, and as they're dealing with us, they said, I don't know, you guys are some lucky guys because you should be dead right now. We've been at many accidents like this and no one makes it out alive. I remember this local radio station, it had said that my friend and I were involved in a fatal car accident. And I literally had friends that thought that me and my friend had died. I mean, I'm literally a dead man walking. Every single day, I'm reminded that I shouldn't be alive. My ankle is that reminder because it still hurts to this day. That wreck has forever changed the way that I drive. Oh, you better believe at nighttime, especially on 2-lane road, I'm a little bit of 10 and 2, and I'm a little bit hugging that emergency side. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like driving close to cars at night. And it wrecked me. I mean, it changed me. See, when you're wrecked, it will change what you do. Everything about you will become different. Like how you respond, how you behave, how you act, what you do. Everything would be different anytime you get wrecked. This virus has wrecked our society. Everything is different now. And the same thing is true with you. Whatever happens to you, whether you have parents that have gone through a divorce, maybe you've had something really tragic happen to you, you lost someone or a sibling through sickness or whatever. When something tragic happens and it wrecks you, it changes everything you do and it moves you to like action, whatever it is. Maybe it's hatred, maybe it's just anger, maybe it's resentment, maybe it's, hurt, maybe it's whatever. You fill in the blank. What is that thing for you? And see, when Jesus, it says when he steps into our life, he makes us a brand new creation, that the old things about us, they pass away. And then it says that the new has come. We become brand new. So in a way, like if Jesus steps into our life, he wrecks us. And everything should be different. I mean, Jesus did that in my life. It's why, I'm just a kid from Arizona. Jesus came into my life, and I'm like, next thing I know, I'm like going to Bible college, and I moved to Alabama. They don't even have Asian people in Alabama. Like, the only people like me here in Alabama, work at Panda Express. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want number 2 fried rice with that? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, only Jesus could do that in my life because he's wrecked me. And everything's different now. And what I do today with my life, being a pastor, is all because Jesus has changed my life. I want to share this really amazing, powerful story. It's found in the Old Testament in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah was a prophet, and he was a prophet in a really precarious time. He was a prophet in the time where the king had been dead and he'd passed on, and there was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of unknowns. No one knew what to expect, what the future held, or what was going to happen. And Isaiah begins to tell this vision of this thing that he sees. He says, like, we're just worried about what's going to happen. Our society has changed now. We don't know what we're going to do. And then he sees like God. And then he sees these like six-winged creatures. They're called seraphims. I mean, you got to read this stuff for yourself. I mean, it's something like an X-Men meets My Little Ponies kind of thing, like just this mashup of just like this crazy creature. And he's like, here in the presence, he's seeing God. And I want to read to you what it says, starting in verse 5 of Isaiah chapter 6. Then Isaiah said, it's all over. I am doomed, for I'm a sinful man. I have filthy lips, and I live among a people with filthy lips. Yet I have seen the King, the Lord of angels of heaven's armies. Isaiah, he sees this imagery, and he's seeing God, and then he sees these creatures, and they're just proclaiming to him how amazing and how holy God is. And Isaiah sees it, and he's like, I'm a bad guy. Like, I don't deserve to be in the presence of God. I'm an unclean person. And the people that I'm surrounded by, we're unclean people. I can't be in God's presence. Verse 6, it says, then one of the seraphim, it flew to me with a burning coal he had taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. And he touched my lips with it, and he said, see, this coal has touched your lips. Now your guilt is removed and your sins are forgiven. This creature flies down and it takes this coal that was there, that was allowing the fire to burn for the altar. And then he touches the lips of Isaiah and he says, see, you've been purified. You've been forgiven. You can be in the presence of God. In verse 8 it says, then I heard the Lord asking, whom should I send as a messenger to this people? Who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me. Then God speaks up. It was only after Isaiah had been purified and forgiven by God does God ask the question, I need someone who will go be my messenger to the people. Who's going to be my mouthpiece? Who can be the guy that I send to go? And Isaiah, knowing that he's been forgiven, knowing that now he could stand in the presence of God, says, here I am, send me. When you experience God, it will wreck you. It will move you to action. You want to live for him. Like when you really experience God, you're like, I can't keep this to myself anymore. It's not just about like, hey, dating someone or always trying to pursue the next relationship. It's not about popularity. It's not about whatever you feel. It's not about like getting the highest ACT scores, getting into whatever college, trying to get scholarships for playing sports or whatever it is that you do. When Jesus steps into our life, we just want to live for him, whatever that looks like. I mean, it may be you do all those things that I just said, but it just means that Jesus is the center of your life because he's the most important thing that matters to you because he's completely changed you. Like you understand that before Jesus, you deserved death. Like you didn't deserve to be in his presence, but Jesus forgave you of your life. And he says, I love you and I died for you. And you're like, God, I just want to live for you. That's what happens when he wrecks your life. But if you're honest, many of us, we spend more time editing our pictures for Instagram than we do reading our Bibles. We spend more time posting up our stories than we do reading God's word. Many of us, we spend more time working on our dance moves for TikTok video, trying to make something like hot, like just like how many followers we have, than we do praying. I mean, for you teenagers, like so many of you, you've been at home like these last 10, 12 weeks, 13 weeks. What have you been doing with your time? What have you been doing to like grow in your relationship with God? What have you been doing to like, that's like, God, like, I want to like know more about you. Like now more than ever, I have time. Like, you know, before it's always like an excuse, right? Like youth pastors, can I get a what's up on this one, right? Like you're always like, hey, like you should be doing this. Oh, I got to study. I got to go to practice. I got to go to this. I got to go to that. I have to work a job. My girlfriend says she needs to like, I have to hang out with her, I guess, right? I can't play Fortnite. Whatever it is, like we always have the excuse because of the time. Now here you've been just given ample time. You're supposed to be at home. You're supposed to be doing all these things. You have all this time. How have you been using your time? And I think if you're honest, most of us probably haven't been using our time very well. And when you encounter God and he wrecks you, it changes how you do everything. It changes how you use your time. It changes how you live your life. See, most of us, we treat like our encounter with God like going to the circus. You remember that? It's like you go to the circus and it's fun while it lasted. You see the clowns, you have the cotton candy, you see the tigers, whatever, Tiger King, right? Like you see all this stuff, but it doesn't change you. You're the same person. And that's probably the reason why you haven't been back since you were 10 years old. Hey, I did that, been there, done that, don't need to do it again. But how has God wrecked you? Like, how has he changed you? See, when you're wrecked, it moves you to action. See, God tells Isaiah, like when you keep reading Isaiah chapter 6, he says, who am I gonna send? Who's gonna be my messenger? And Isaiah's like, I'll go. God, like if you use me, I'll go. And the very next verse, God tells Isaiah to go. He tells him to go. You see, when you act because God has wrecked you, you want to live for him. But some of us, it seems like we're just waiting to punch that heavenly ticket, right? Like, hey, God, you know, I gave my life to Jesus. Now, I get to go to heaven one day, and I'm going to just keep doing my own thing instead of really living for him, and you're missing out on the life that God wants you to have. Jesus said himself, I want you to have life and live it to the fullest. I want you to enjoy the best things in life, but when you just live down here in this world of like, it's all about me and Jesus, I'll squeeze you in when I can, you miss out on the entirety of what God has for you. And it's like you're content with this little bit when God says, I have so much more for you. God is worth living for. He's worth giving your life for. I remember being where you've been. I've been to the camps. I've done all those things and I've heard it. But when God wrecked me, everything was different. Maybe you've been in quarantine and maybe you've been challenged to live for God. Maybe you're just going like, I need to be doing something with my time. How can I serve people? And maybe you've been doing that. Maybe you've been tutoring other kids. Maybe you're like friending people that you normally wouldn't have. Maybe you're talking to others. I'm not sure what's going on, but maybe you just like, I need to be living for God. Maybe you've talked to your youth pastor. You're trying to get involved in your church. Like, what has God been challenging you? What has he been telling you during this time in quarantine? Like, what have you been learning in this time? What have you been learning? Is God just a part of your life, or is he the center of your life? See, that's a difference. I don't want like God just to be a part of my life. I want him to be the center of my life.